Hello, everyone. Oh, come on, you do better than that. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, my first SIS 16, and the speakers before us, you've been fantastic, and I had a chance to talk to Philippe last night about some really incredible things. But my journey from a small town in Lynchburg, Virginia, to being able to look from the International Space Station down at our planet has been a very serendipitous path. And I have to thank a lot of people in my community, a lot of people that have given me the right stuff, because the right stuff is truly having the grit and the perseverance to not give up in times of trouble. And Astronaut, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics to help inspire that next generation, to help them be engaged in their exploration of their journeys. Mark Twain said something very eloquent. He said, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and then the day you figured out why. And that why piece is so important, and it drives us as corporations, as philanthropists, as people, to make sure that we have that engagement in our kids and in our future. And so in May of 1961, Martin Luther King Jr. was he was going to the Deep South to help console some of the freedom riders that were bombed. And at the same time, the juxtaposition of President John F. Kennedy going to Congress to get money to send a human being, he said a man, but to send a human being to the moon and back safely. You think about these two contrasts at this time in May of 1961. I'm not even born yet, okay? This is my pre-me picture, pre-Leland thoughts. My parents, Deems and Grace Melvin, were school teachers in Lynchburg, Virginia, and they were thinking about starting a family. And you know, my dad has always helped inspire and motivate people in our community, but he's thinking about his own family now. How are we going to raise these kids? What schools are they going to? What are they going to do? What are they going to be? What is their why going to be? And so September of 61, I'm a thought. And then I was born in February of 1964. And during this whole time, JFK is going to send people to the moon in the decade. But we have this guy, Gene Roddenberry, who has this show called Star Trek, who has this woman named Nichelle Nichols, who is the first African-American woman in a television series that's not in a subservient manner, being slaves. We had slaves, as well as people being domestic workers. And this woman inspired so many people. She engaged the different communities to where Dr. Ronald McNair actually saw her on television and said, I want to be an astronaut because of her, because there are women like that in space, pretty much. And so he was inspired, and then this was also the time when you had the first interracial kiss on television with Captain Kirk and Nichelle Nichols, but you also had the first intergalactic kiss, too, when he kissed the green woman. Remember that? So Nichelle was very instrumental in helping NASA later in her life bring on the first minorities and women into the astronaut corps with her work with NASA. And so I grew up in a small town, Lynchburg, Virginia, on a street called Pierce Street. There was a man named Dr. Whirlwind Johnson, Dr. Walter Johnson, this guy right here on the right, with Arthur Ashe. He used to train students to come and play tennis in Lynchburg, Virginia, 5 blocks down the street from me. Now, I wasn't there when Arthur was there, but we actually lived in Dr. Johnson's apartments at one time. And you sometimes never know the people in your community that are helping shape your why, help shape your future. My dad talked about Arthur Ashe. He talked about his character, the things that he did, the things that he did off the tennis courts. And on that same street, there was a guy named Chauncey Spencer who petitioned Congress, Harry S. Truman, back in the day to get money for the Tuskegee Airmen. So right in my neighborhood, I have two really incredibly great people that are helping shape our world and our country and help me on my path. 1969, we have a human walking on the moon. And I say human because we had men, but whenever I talk to young girls about, do you want to be an astronaut? They say, no, it's not for me, it's the manned space program. So the language that we use is so important to ensure that everyone is engaged to think that they can be and do anything they put their mind to. So all the manned space program stuff always changed the dialogue to human space program. I'm 5 years old. People ask me, Leland, do you want to be an astronaut? I'm like, no, I want to be Arthur Ashe. He was cool. He played tennis. I never saw myself in this role, in this position, because I didn't see someone that looked like me. And that's one of the things that we must do. We must ensure that we have the people showing each other that you can do these jobs and these activities. Mom read to me every night, The Little Engine That Could. I think I can, I think I can. Carol Dweck, mindset. My mindset was getting bolstered in a positive way to being a growth mindset. And then curiosity came into Curious George. You know, he's getting in trouble doing things like I did. But the thing that really solidified my path forward was the age and appropriate, non-OSHA certified chemistry set that I mixed 2 dissimilar chemicals in my mother's living room, created the most incredible explosion, fire, raining fire all over the place, burned a hole in her carpet. She had a hand in my development. But this was the thing that activated my brain to think I could be a scientist. And I went to college to become a scientist. Now, Skip also told you I'm the only person that played in the NFL and went to space, but it was these experiences in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, music lessons, all these different things that I was blessed to have an opportunity to do because my dad worked 2 or 3 or 4 jobs to have the resources to make sure that we could be engaged. And football at a young age, played in the pros, but before that, I dropped a touchdown pass in the end zone, homecoming game. All my friends are back. I'm running down the sideline. The crowd is screaming. The ball is coming. Scream crowd. I'm running. The ball is coming. And I drop this ball, and I go to the sidelines, waiting to be benched. My coach looks me in the eyes and says, Leland, I believe in you. Get back out there and catch the ball. I go to the huddle. Coach wants us to run the same play again to me. And I say, no, you're not. You just dropped my touchdown pass. You're not going to throw that play. So I get up, line up, run down the sideline again. The crowd is screaming. The crowd is screaming. I can read Spalding on the side of the ball as it's coming in. I catch the ball. And unbeknownst to me, there was a college scout from the University of Richmond looking to see if I could play football for the Spiders. He said the first drop pass, he started walking out of the stadium. He heard the crowd screaming the second time, and he saw him in the end zone, you know, like doing a little dance. He said, because you didn't give up, because you had the grit and perseverance to not give up in this horrific moment in your life, your friends are there, homecoming game, dropped a touchdown pass, I'm going to give you a scholarship. That one catch resulted in a $180,000 scholarship to the University of Richmond. And I tell that story because so many times we fail at something and we give up. And it's the community, it's the people in this room that have the resources and the connections to make sure that every child has this push, this tug, this you can do it, I think I can, and stay curious. Went to NASA after dropping that touchdown pass and going to college, I got drafted to the Lions, the 11th round, Detroit Lions. Okay. They cut me, so there was no allegiance there. Pulled a hamstring in training camp, ended up going to start graduate school, and then went to the Dallas Cowboys, pulled a hamstring again, ended up going back to school and working for NASA. And this was one of the programs I worked on, X-33 program, fiber optic sensors. Friend of mine said, Leland, you'd be a great astronaut. I'm like, what, me? Nah, you're not, no, I can't be an astronaut. Handed me an application. I looked at it, didn't fill it out. That same year, my buddy who was working on this program, Charlie Camarda, he filled the application out. He got in. I said, wait a minute. NASA's letting knuckleheads like that in to be astronauts? Maybe I can be one too. And so the next selection, I filled the application out and I got in. And out of the 364 astronauts that have flown in space and been in the program, this was our astronaut class. Can you find Leland in the picture anywhere? Where in the world? Let me help you. There he is, right there. But it was me and a sea of others from all over the world working together. 2,500 people applied for these 25 spots. And I had never flown an airplane before. I'd never even been thinking about flying in space before. But these people, these paths, these things led me to this journey. The thing that changed my life in the most dramatic way, besides dropping that touchdown pass, was when I lost my hearing in a training accident. I got in this pool, about a 5 million gallon pool. We have a little pad in our helmet called a Valsalva pad that lets you press your nose against it to clear your ears. They forgot to put mine in. Went down about 10 feet in the water, went down 25 feet. The test director told me, he said, "Leland, you doing okay?" I said, "Well, can you turn the volume in the headset up?" And I didn't hear anything from that point on. Emergency surgery, they went and looked around. They couldn't figure out what happened. And I was completely deaf. Hearing slowly came back after about 2 weeks. And because they were trying to figure out what to do with me, they sent me to Washington to work in an education program. And during that time, February 1st, 2003, we lost Space Shuttle Columbia. And I was here in Washington consoling the family of David Brown, who's a gentleman in the top left corner. I went to his home. His father said to me, "My son is gone. There's nothing you can do to bring him back, but the biggest tragedy will be if we don't continue to fly in space to honor them by carrying on their legacy." Now, I'm not flying. I'm medically disqualified to fly because they don't know why this thing happened to me. And we're going around the country to the different, I moved a little too fast here, going around the country to the different memorial services. We're flying in the NASA plane up and down. I'm clearing my ears. The head of all the flight surgeons says to me, "Leland, I believe in you. I'm going to sign a waiver for you to fly." And so I went back to Houston to the doctors and say, "This is my get out of jail free card. I'm able to fly now." And this was the picture I took with my dogs that I snuck into NASA when I got that first flight assignment. Went to space in 2008. This was my first mission on the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Coming up on the space station, it looks beautiful. You see these solar rays shining like the sun. And my job was to take this Columbus laboratory out of the payload bay and attach it to the space station. I thought this was going to be my aha moment. But the aha moment was when Dr. Peggy Whitson, the first female commander of the space station, invited us over to dinner. She said, "You guys bring the rehydrated vegetables, we'll have the meat." So we're having this incredible meal with people we used to fight against, the Russians and the Germans. And we're going around the planet at 17,500 miles per hour every 90 minutes, seeing a sunrise and a sunset every 45 minutes. That was my aha moment. And that's the moment that I said, we have to do better when we come back home. You look at the planet, it's gorgeous. You look at the Andes Mountains, they're beautiful. You look over the Middle East, it's peace in the Middle East from that vantage point. It is simply gorgeous. And so coming home, we had to do better to help others see this orbital perspective. Leaving the space station, coming home, my second flight in 2009, I hung up my space boots and tried to figure out how to prepare students for jobs we can't yet imagine, how to ensure all students can meet level of rigor, and how to build learning experiences that spark passion. If we can get a kid to be passionate about something, that kid will figure it out himself. With all the technology, all the things we have, they will figure it out themselves. Equality doesn't mean justice. Equality is when you have the same thing, but you still can't see the game. The justice is when you have what you need to get the job done. One day, these kids are going to be working and living on a Martian base because this group in here has helped inspire and engage that next generation. And I want to say all to you, thank you for what you do. Live long and prosper. Great.